Everyone, welcome to... Can I have a drum roll, please? SGDC! With your finger-licking good hostess, Tintin! Now, time to show your stuff. Yeah, so I think the first person we have here to, since I'm finger-licking, I'm obviously from, southern US now. We have someone who just made his very first foray into the YouTube format. So, let's see here. We are looking for a Jonatan Balevik. Yeah, you're up.
I'll do the YouTube thing, but y'all can get it for seconds.
Wait, what? See here. Oh, yeah. Wow, I mixed that up. Hey, Hjalte. Hey. Hey, come on. Now you're finally getting your time as to, shine before the Norwegian.
Oh, thank you. So I've been working on a bit of a clickbait YouTube video. I want to give a special thank you to Glenn and Aaron for helping me out. And pretty much we're just gonna watch the video, and I don't know, I hope you guys like it. And then you can all individually go to Showcase and like, comment, and subscribe, of course.
Always done. Join the notification.
Nice.
Hit the bell icon.
Yeah, hit the bell icon. Smash the bell icon, in fact. Okay, let's just hope this isn't terrible quality. Maybe. Can we handle it? Can you handle the 1080?
I live in the middle of nowhere in a place called Spelkollektivet, but 3 years ago, I didn't. In fact, I had just moved into my new dorm room right here, and I was taking a walk down on my Bogel when I went to a store and found this cute little puzzle game, where all the pieces were little animals. I thought, wouldn't it be neat if these animals could move around and maybe eat plants to grow longer, and maybe there would be carnivorous animals that could eat other animals. So I ran back home, and I quickly coded up a shoddy prototype in the command prompt. It kinda worked, so I cooked up a basic mock-up too. I started putting it into Unity and the game was taking shape quickly, and soon it seemed I had an entire game on my hands. But then, as I was biking home one day, this nagging feeling of deja vu just wouldn't leave me. And that's when I realized Snakebird exists. Snakebird has the same snake-type movement, the same eating mechanics, the same going into holes. Heck, even the facial expressions had been subconsciously stolen from Snakebird. And although the game has plenty of merit on its own, at the time it just destroyed my confidence in the game, and I abandoned it completely. But 3 years later, I moved here to this big house in the middle of nowhere with a completely different project. This other project was demoralizingly far from being done, and I was completely out of money. So instead of getting a job, I started doing art. And soon enough, the game started to look pretty good. Also one day I tripped and accidentally rewrote the entire codebase in a week. Suddenly I had confidence in the game again. Its quality is more obvious than ever, but there was just one problem. I was still broke. I decided to take a look at my expenses, and it seemed that most of it was made up by rent. But then I got a genius idea. I would simply not pay rent, but my landlord didn't like that for some reason. So I came up with an even better plan. I would get the house to publish my game so I could simply expense the rent. And somehow they said yes. And that's the story of how Munchman was getting published by Spelkollektivet. I got started working on the game and got a lot of help from these lovely people. But in truth, the entire community helped shape the game. Through playtesting, random ideas during walks, and most importantly by just creating the best possible environment for game development. And eventually I also managed to finish the game.
No, it's gonna take you. Munch.
He's growing!
It's now out on Steam, iOS and Android. If you play it, let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
That's a great video. Where can I smash like and subscribe to this great video? Where can I find it?
I put it in the showcase,
Whoa,
or you can try to spell my name. It's up to you.
Thank you.
Sure?
How long have you been working on this video?
quite a while, but mostly it was just sitting there. I think I did most of the editing in like 2 days, and then it was kind of just hunting down people to like take extra shots, and voiceover is terrible. I hate it. So over the course of a month, I probably spent 3 days work on it. I don't know. Anyone else? Yeah?
Are you doing anything at the moment with Munchy Mammals, or are you just dealing with Strot? Or
Yeah, I'm still doing a level editor. Should come in a future SGDC, as well as a switchboard. So eventually that'll come. But yeah, I am starting to work on Strot as well now. Cool. Thank you.
Well, wasn't that super nice of him? Like, I sure would love to munch some, yeah, I'm not gonna say that given what was presented in the video, but before we go on with the cannibalism, we're going on with the scandiism. So, I would like Jonathan to step forward, please, to tell us more about his Amazon-based dystopia.
So, today I'm gonna show stuff, because I did stuff, cool stuff. What stuff, you know? I'm working a game, it's like a top-down shooter game. And yeah, I'm just gonna start the video. So, well, I guess before, probably a bunch of people here haven't seen it before, but yes, no, actually, no. Let's not say. You should know. But what I've been working on is like I have all of these level that's separated, and I'm like, wouldn't it be nice to just tie them together? So I looked at some inspiration and saw some other games who did a cool thing like this Slay the Spire style map. So now I'm just cheating and skipping all the content just to go back to the map. But so to give you choices, so I can go and fight enemies, and then I can choose to go to some other nodes. Like this is just I get some resources, and then I go back to the map, and then I can like choose which path I want to go. Kind of like to tie all the content I made previously, like all the levels. So you know, it's kind of like I'm going on a big run, and then at the end, of course, you gotta have the boss fight. And this is the boss fight I showed last time. But I thought it's so cool, and I did some changes, so I'm just going to show it again because it's pretty cool. Look at this guy shooting. Wow! Yeah, it's a. So I guess since last time I just focused on making a lot of content. I made some new enemies, which I'm going to show after. I also made some new weapons, and just I guess ironing out all the bumps and trying to make it like a coherent experience. So when you kill a boss, you then go back to your hub world, and then you can spend your currency. But the upgrade system I made, you just gotta believe me, it did work at some point, but it broke. So I'm not gonna show it, but you just gotta trust me. You can spend your currency on upgrade, like more health and unlock new weapons and stuff. But yeah, it broke. And here are some new enemies. This is like I guess a brute guy. You can't shoot him from the front, but you can shoot him from the back. And then he has like a charge attack, like. So I also been trying to. I made a lot of system. I'm just trying to put all the system I made and make content out of it. So just like, yeah, just stringing together some stuff. And also you can see here, there's a new weapon I made, the shotgun. I'm just skimming through all this, but I hope you can follow. And here is a frog, an angry frog. I know you guys like frogs. So he jumps at you, and then he tries to eat you, and then you say like, no, don't eat me, and I'm gonna kill you, because yeah, it's a bad frog. And here's like a floaty mine exploding thing. So I guess for this enemy, he just kind of floats around, and you can. It's basically a red exploding barrel that you can shoot, and he will explode enemies around him. That was the thing for this. And then I made some trash enemies. So I had the swarmer enemy who follows you before, and this is basically that, but he sometimes shoots one bullet at you, you know. just like a weak, super weak thing that just goes around. And I was thinking to myself, I'm jumping around a lot. Like, wouldn't it be cool if I had an enemy that kind of like has an umbrella, and whenever I jump, it's like, no, don't shoot me. So I made that as well, just trying to be as annoying to myself as possible, just counter all the things I do. So here you have a group photo of all the enemies. There you have the charger, the frog, and then these are the enemies that was already in the game. Yeah. And then I promised...
Time's up.
Yeah, this is gonna be fast. So yeah, I promised before, I was asked before if I could make bullets with legs, and here is bullet with legs, exactly, as promised, because I follow up. So yeah, they're just like friends that try to kill the closest enemy, and they also bob around like you. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Exploding enemies with bullets and legs. Cool.
All right.
Any questions?
Is the frog using your trademark procedural leg engine?
No, but it is using the foot curve on it. So it's just one leg moving without the actual leg, and it's a frog. So yeah.
You talked about bobbing, like bobbing things.
Yeah.
Like my question to you is, are they like tadpoles of the frog, or?
You mean the enemies?
Yeah. Like the little bobbing ones you just showed off.
I don't know really. I'm just putting together stuff that I think look cool, but I guess the general vibe of the enemies that I think I'm going for is like slimy aquatic things. So I guess I was thinking of tadpoles at one point, but yeah, I guess different sea creatures is guess what I'm going for. But all of these are just like placeholder, like mock-ups for me to just have something cool to look at while I stare at code. Yeah, Frank.
Was the enemy that has the hard shell on the front and is only vulnerable in the butt inspired by Bottle Sky?
No, but yeah, I should make it juicier. Yeah, maybe I should add two soft spots on the back. Yeah, that's a good catch. Any more questions? Thank you.
Right, so now that we have gazed into the abyss and seen some of those deep sea creatures, we have someone here who's been a very, very bad student. Someone who's been so bad that we locked this student in a dungeon and made sure to motivate some real evil creatures to come forth. Everyone give it up for Paulina!
I am not the evil creature.
Are you sure? Because according to this description here, you've been forced into like the basement to do some evil things.
You are making most of that. I did not want to present today, but I made a deal, so now I will present. And I did most of this presentation like 2 months ago, and I don't remember all of it, so we'll see what happens. Animations. So this is my very cool mimic. It sleeps, and then I hope it wakes up at some point. It woke up. And then it's probably gonna chase you, probably. And it's a good thing I made a list on the side. It can hit you, and there is no VFX yet, but you know, does that. I was gonna shoot a little fun projectile. How do I go next? We have this thing. It is also sleeping when you find it. I did not time these videos very well. And then it wakes up. It has no legs. Super easy to... No walk cycle. So nice. That was nice. And then it punches you really hard with all of the arms. Then maybe it does something else. No. How do I? Okay. This one I actually remember. That's right. I don't animate this one. I think this speaks for itself. Really cool. The whole idea with the skeletons are that they will have the same moveset as the player, and I haven't done the player yet. So, what am I doing?
Game master.
Real game. Oh no, I know. Yeah, the sword is a real item. It's not a Minecraft item. Yes. It hits you like you. There's a clue in the. I've textured the big mimic that has been around 100 years. It does similar things as the small mimic, but bigger and harder, and bigger again.
Oh my.
I'm having some difficulties animating it, and I can't solve it right now. It is technical difficulties. I'm a genius. I could do it if the software worked, but yeah, at least it looks pretty cool. Then we have the player, real gear. It does this pose. I remember this because in the skeleton bit I made it do that, and now it just does this whenever I open the file, because I haven't done anything else with it. There's something else here. So kills people, I guess. Dies. Blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, next time you might get to know what the game is. I'm not gonna tell you now, even though I wrote this a month ago. Oh yeah, I was gonna show actual gameplay, but it didn't work. So here's an out of context screenshot where nothing is happening. That's pretty cool. Oh shit! Oh. What's happening? Oh shit! Don't worry. Questions? How did I? I'm sorry. Next person. Brian.
How did you get such glorious fiery text for your presentation?
I googled fire text generator and I took the top option. What is happening? Leene.
When is the next time you're gonna show?
I'm gonna sign up every week. And that's all I can say for now. Maybe next time Aaron forces me. Matej.
Yeah, I guess maybe you just answered what was the deal that you signed?
I said, if you remind me like on Wednesday, like yesterday, to make my SGDC, I will present. And she did. And now I'm here and I worked until like 2 a.m. yesterday. So I didn't have time to finish anything because I was sleeping all day. Anyone else? No. Thank you.
Right, now while I could make more jokes about being tied up here, I would like to take a solo moment to say that it takes courage to step forward, and those were not bad graphics. Like, I really like the protagonist one. So let's go forth. I know, because we've been talking about bigger stuff, but that was a pretty, like, small student project. What we have coming up now is even bigger, like, bigger still. So I would like to ask Kasper up here.
Can you actually? No. But actually need this. Alright. So a lot of people in here have probably decided that at some point they wanted to make a big world and decided like to buy asset and go like, yeah, it definitely looks like this when I get it. And I will now give you a fine example of when you import your asset without doing anything. Alright, this is not as fast as I expected. Alright, so you can see it doesn't look that great, and the performance is also not that great. So what can we kind of do? You can like play around with the shaders and stuff, and you at some point you'll probably get something that looks like a little better, like this when it's opening again. Come on. So at least you know the color grade is a little better, but now your performance is still pretty trash. And the reason for that is in the presentation. As you can see, the trees here are really retarded big. Same with the bushes. So I finally have a 3D artist, so I managed to get Xavier to actually make some smaller trees and some LEDs. And some for the bushes as well. So how much can that actually improve your performance? Let's have a look. Might not be in the right PC to do this. But alright. Very soon. So you can see now we have a lot better performance. And we can do even better. Finger with this one, yes. Yes, a lot of waiting, very exciting. Alright, so now we're here. The FPS is pretty decent, but what happens if you zoom out a lot? The FPS does not like that. So what can we do to improve that? We can use something called imposters. I feel like I should have filmed this instead. Well, at least you know I'm not lying, it's live. So with imposters, I don't know if any of you can actually see them swap, but they are swapping. And now we still have a pretty decent FPS when you zoom out. Let's go back to presentation. So here's about like the shader, and if you have more materials, you do have more draw calls. Bad. And what can you do? This I found this also called Microsplash. If you're using Unity, you can use this. It takes all the terrain, we'll call it textures, and makes them into one texture. So it's just one draw call. Pretty nice. But here's in the poster one. It literally just makes a shape and then tries to draw the picture of the 3D model. But it has, like of course, big drawbacks. It's transparency, but it's very bad for mobile and web. So take that with a grain of salt. And additional things you also can do to help with performance is like render tools like Nature Render and Folius Render. So that's pretty much just my small talk about how you can improve rendering and FPS if you want to make a bigger world in Unity. That's it. Questions?
And the imposter system works together with the nature and those two renders? Like, how do they integrate?
So you need a different asset shader that can make them work together. Yeah, Unity!
Did these things mainly help with
CPU or GPU performance?
Both. So some of them move them over to the GPU, but some of them just like say, hey, how about we don't render like 40 textures at the same time? That helps as well.
So to make imposters, did you have to go through every single asset and
Yes.
create an imposter for it? Okay, so no.
And also they don't support shadows that well. So you can throw light on them, but they can't really receive shadows. So that is another downside. I think you can actually see it here. Any other questions when I've opened this again?
It's fast.
I think we have like, as you can see, they don't support shadows. I guess I did need to zoom all out, but you can see like there they pop. But that's pretty much it. Oh yeah.
But
Yes.
is this popping that I see on the bushes, is that something you're gonna work out, or you're just gonna leave it as it?
That's a good question.
Is there
You could, in theory, just also just do calling. So, like in theory, that like when you're out here, you don't really care about this little bush, so you could just remove it.
I feel like it already looks better than if they just disappeared.
Yeah. I guess, and I might as well just show it. Like if using Microsplat, they had like a blender feature with the terrain tool as well. But it's pretty nice if you want to make like a bigger open world area. Oh yeah, waterfall. Wow. More questions? Or we?
What's the open world for?
So as you can see, we have this fine people here, and they will now start walking and following the spline that is near the road. But that is for another time.
Could you explain, like, or clarify what the imposter is exactly? Because I'm still not really sure what it is.
So it is pretty much just, it takes a picture, depending on how many you take. Normally for good quality you need 16 pictures. It literally just take a picture everyone around, and then it just blends in between the pictures.
Nice.
So it's like a billboard type effect?
Yes.
Okay.
That looks like it.
Alright, now I would like to send out an apology here. You see, when I was looking through the list of people talking, I noticed, it's like we have something bigger, and right before it is a small game, small, big, and then, I just completely managed to do kind of what I did at the start, mixing things up, but I managed to completely miss someone who's actually making a pretty good looking game herself. So give it up for Leene, who's going to teach us how to craft with trash.
Hello, exactly that. So, making 2 games, and one of them is a game called craftcraft, where you basically can make stuff. You have that desktop in 2D, and then you can, as a simulation, make different things. And I'm gonna show you now what I have been working on. Basically, I made these blueprints for tiaras. So in a book, you have these blueprints. Maybe I'll show next time the build as well. Actually, it's quite solid already. Oh, Ryan started talking there. I can mute it. Okay, it's muted. And so these are the blueprints for the crowns or tiaras, and then you select one from this book, and then I made some branches that are quite well shaped for them, and you can, as like a puzzle pieces, use those branches to build those same tiaras, whichever you want. And then you can put a lot of trash on them, because we have a raccoon princess or like a raccoon character coming in who wants a fancy trash tiara. So that's the first thing we have in there. And how this works, because we're gonna have a lot of assets, it's kind of hard to take care of all of that. So I made this kind of a Excel table. All my Excel tables look like rainbow puke always, because that makes me happy. Otherwise, it's gonna depress the hell out of me. So that's a good tip to do. So in here you have different areas. Basically there's like a hidden object game where you can find in different areas those items at first, like back alley, forest, town, beach, mountain, and ruins. And then in the demo that we're making currently, it's only the back alley. That's where you get all your trash from. Then you can see here there's actually these are all of the ones. So you have rarity of each material, either common, uncommon, or rare. And then there's types of it. So it could be trash, plant material, wood, animal material, whatever. So there might be some character coming in and saying like, hey, I want something made out of wood, or I want something made out of, I don't know, sea themed or items, for example, for what you find on the beach. So yeah, you can then make these, and then there's also aesthetics for all of them. So different characters might like different aesthetics. Some might like recycled stuff, some might like nature looking stuff like branches and leaves, and some might like ominous, like very creepy looking stuff, or cute or elegant or minimalist. So those are all the aesthetics in our game. And also I decided like which items are we are able to get them in the game in the beginning, or so we will basically start unlocking them one by one. But this Excel table is going to be used as the base basically. So before it was all in my head, but now I was very happy to put this together finally, because what this table does, firstly, this is the information that programmers will get from and import into the game in Godot. Then secondly, this is where all the design is being done basically for the game. Then if somebody has made the assets, then they're gonna mark that the assets are done. So for the visual assets of them. So it's also something that the artists will use, and also for the writer who is making the missions and stuff, seeing like what kind of items are available and all that. So it's a tool that brings, it's an Excel table, yes, but it just brings together. Otherwise, if you can like edit it, it has drop-down menus for all of these items. So in here, so yeah, it's gonna help everybody in the team basically to make it. And I also decided on the colors for all the different aesthetics as well. This is our color palette that was already there, but I put it into smaller compact decisions of which element is gonna be which, because if a person who's playing the game is gonna try out the game and doesn't have a strong color theory background, but they're trying to make a certain type of item, then it might look good together already, because they're using items that say that they're ominous or something, and they will look good together because the colors will look good together. Yeah, any questions about this? No. Yes.
Did you say that the that spreadsheet gets imported directly into the game?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's so that's gonna be always imported, and if something is going to be changed in here, then it's gonna be changed in the project as well. Currently we are like managing a lot of the information. Actually, most of information is in Artist Draft. It's writing software where like all the different things are imported into Godot. But yeah, I was like, I need this overview small thing that we don't have to go into Artist to deal with this every time. Yes?
Yeah, so you say that customers come in asking for different things. Is that somewhat predictable, or is it more is there a degree of randomness?
Yeah, we have two types of customers. Some of them are random customers, kind of, that are just generated, but the rest of them are gonna be fully written by us, basically, like predetermined. So we want to do both. And the thing that we want to do with the randomized customer is also to make a Twitch integration where Twitch viewers could put together a character that comes to the shop of the Twitch player, basically. So to have more interaction between the streamers and have them having fun with that as well. So that's a plan in there. Okay, thank you so much.
All right. I like that we're given like 2 different ways to taste the rainbow, and then inside the game, one of the ways to taste the rainbow is actually like 7 of them. Like, are you hyped? Because I sure know I am. So next up, we want to talk a little bit about print media. So I would like to welcome up the cast of Debug magazine.
Hello, we didn't have very far to go.
Where is it? There we go.
Hello. So a lot of you have already seen us around because we've been here for quite a while. I was ill last week, so I couldn't come to SGDC. There we go, finding buttons. But yeah, we had a fika earlier on in the week, and we've met a few of you. So anybody who we haven't met yet, hello. I'm Andrew. I'm the editor of Debug, and
I'm Daniel. I'm the founder.
He likes the air quotes. He is the founder of Debug. There's no air quotes about it. So Daniel founded Debug last year. Well, probably a little bit earlier than that even. But the first issue came out last April, and we are now on our 5th issue, which you've probably seen on the coffee table. Probably flick through it. And yeah, we're kind of a print media magazine. We also do digital. All about indie gaming, so we only cover indie games and the people who make them, and we want to support them as much as possible, essentially. So I thought you've only seen issue 5 probably around, so I thought I'd show you a few things that we've done previously. So our last issue, for instance, we had Snufkin on the cover, the team over at Hyper Games, who are just over the border in Norway. They were awesome, being able to kind of talk about kind of what makes a game, or what makes them Nordic, and their Nordic roots and things like that. So that was fun. We do a lot of different things with different games. We like to probably have slightly larger games on the cover because it means that our gamer audience kind of can see a cool game that they like, and it brings them in, and then we just kind of like scattershot tons of other amazing indie games at them that maybe they hadn't seen before. So we really like to kind of give a platform for all sorts of indie games. We kind of like the smaller ones the best because they're always the best ones. So, but we do lots of things. We go around to different events, usually in the UK, but obviously we're here, so now we go other places too. And we like to basically kind of show people what kind of events there are around, all the games that we come across, that people might be interested in, including the weird and wonderful stuff, like this particularly cool thing that was like in a case and had like a little printer in it, and like somebody made that, and that was like incredible. And the biggest things we do are obviously to preview indie games, like with Crow Country, which came out today. Yay. Looks very cool. and we very often have Q&As with the developers as well. So we like to talk to developers about how they created the game, why they created the game, and what advice they give to other people too, because about 80% of our audience are fellow devs, people who make games, so it's kind of nice to, for other devs to see what other devs are doing. I'm just going to say devs about 1 million times. We also do features on various things. Myself and Daniel are hugely into the Dreamcast scene. Anybody who's talked to us for more than 10 minutes will know that by now. I think Daniel's tried to convince at least 3 people here to develop a game on the Dreamcast. I don't know if he's been successful yet. But we usually do something, basically I do something Dreamcast related in everything I've ever worked on, and this was my piece in issue 4 about the Dreamcast. We also do reviews, of course. We review all sorts of games, and we do have a 5-star scale, but what we don't do is we don't review games that we think are below 2.5. And the reason we don't do that is that we know how difficult it is to make indie games, and we don't want to shit on them. So we would rather just not run a review and just talk about it without putting a score on it. Because at the end of the day, somebody's going to find something amazing in every game that's being made, and one reviewer's score is not the be-all and end-all of a game. So, we try and be as fair as we can be. We did ask, actually, if anybody would prefer it if we didn't have review scores at all, and that's been like a whole conversation. We also have a bunch of columns by people from throughout the industry. For instance, Alex, who works at Polygon Treehouse, currently making Mythrax, talking about art, and we've got Philip, who is a narrative designer. We have people who give advice on legal matters. We have people who give advice on other things too. Here's some of our covers. Here's one of the events that we went to, and here is a QR code where you'll find our website, some contact details, and some free PDFs. And also you can grab us at any point if you want to talk to us about your game, because we are going to be doing a big thing about Spelkollektivet in the next issue, and the games that are being made here. So yeah.
Okay, one more thing. Like, when you say grab, does that mean that we should poke you in the corridors, or could we poke you on the Discord too?
Poking us on the Discord is probably better. Don't physically grab us. I can't. We might bite. I don't know. But do say hey. Always happy to say hi and chat about your game. So yeah. Any questions? I think we answered most of the Fika. Yes.
When do you expect the next issue to be out?
So we're quarterly. So the next issue is due out on the 21st of July.
Yeah.
Yes.
So who is your core audience? Is it game developers or?
So we're for everybody. We've never kind of gone towards a certain audience, but we found that a lot of game devs tend to gravitate towards what we do. I guess it's because it's a really easy way to kind of see what other people are doing and get an idea of what's going on in the industry at the moment. So I'd say about between 75 and 80% of our people, maybe not all devs, but definitely within the gaming industry, and then the rest are kind of gamers. The gamers seem to be more vocal at the moment, though. People who just play games, they seem to be talking to us all the time. But yeah, we just know from
when we say devs, we mean anyone that works on games, not just coders.
Yeah. So audio. Yeah. That's another thing that we always come up with. Like when we say dev, and somebody goes, "Well, you're not a dev unless you code," and we're like, "That's not true, technically." I'm not going to start that now. Any other questions? Cool. Thanks very much.
All right. Now that the press release is over, let's see if we can find someone who's actually from the country who's one of the accents I'm mimicking. So, if Shyanne could just come right up here and tell us about her buildings.
Okay. So, I wasn't here last week, even though I got here on Wednesday, because since I've been here, my days have been mixed up. I've been like a day behind. So I kept thinking that, basically it was just a day. I'm like, oh yeah, it's the next day. I'm like, no, it's happening right under my nose. But hi, I'm Cheyenne. Hello, I'm not sure what I'm doing. So a few things about me is that I'm a 3D artist and environment artist. So that's kind of like my primary focus. And I'm from Oregon in the U.S. You know, yay, West Coast. I'm doing a lot of freelance work while I'm here, but I'm also, one of the projects is working with someone on a skiing mobile game based off of Ryuzutsu Ski Resort in Japan. And this person I've been working since about February. I've been mainly just their main 3D artist supporting the assets. I'll get to that in a second here. But my favorite games is the Fallout series. It's like a huge inspiration for why I became an environment artist. And the Persona series and Hellblade: Sin and Sacrifice. So Ninja Theory, if you're out there, you know, hire me please. I'd love to work for you guys. So definitely a studio I'd love to work for someday. Of course, Legend of Zelda, Stardew Valley, and Cult of the Lamb. And so what I've worked on this week were these two buildings. These are actual gondolas that are on Ryuzutsu Ski Resort. So what I've been tasked with doing is recreating as accurately, you know, in scale and visually, the buildings on that mountain. So what the map, the app is also used for is not just a video game, but a way of like a GPS and a map. So if you're on that mountain in the ski resort, you're able to bring up the map and see where you are, and have 3D models that are very similar to what you would see in real life. So if you're lost, you can look up the map and you're like, okay, I see that building, I know where I'm at. And so yeah, I've just been mainly working on these buildings, and these are the two I've worked on. They're both gondolas, and I've been using trim sheets for a lot of the textures just to save on texture space. And since it's a mobile game, you know, you're very limited on how much you can use and add to it. But yeah, trim sheets I've found the past like year have been some of the best tools I've used as an environment artist. You can use I've used one trim sheet for these two models in general. So instead of just using like several different texture maps, I'm only using one texture map for all of these. And a normal map here and there. But yeah, it's saved a lot of texture space, and game performance has improved I think too. So yeah. Anyone have any questions? I don't have very much for today, but yeah.
How did you get this job with a Japanese ski resort?
So I started out, I found this guy on Upwork who's actually hired through them, and he's found me, and like he kind of did little test runs. Okay, like, you know, make some buildings for me. And he's from California, so we were just, you know, same time zone. And after the first project, he's like, hey, do you want to like stay on and just like continue helping me with this project? So he's the one that's been kind of working on. He's the main programmer and has done most of the other stuff in the game. And we're trying to figure out the tree. We're trying to figure out like the tree dilemma. We have a bunch of trees and trying to decide if we should do billboarding or as low resolution as we can, but we also want to match them to the same exact area. So that's how I've been working with him. We found each other through Upwork. I applied for one of his positions, and yeah, and that's been since February. Yeah. Yes.
Do you specialize in kind of low poly modeling, higher poly modeling? Do you have a preference?
I'm very good at low poly modeling, but I do a lot of high poly modeling too. I kind of built a specialty of making incredibly detailed models with very low poly, but just using very detailed texture maps. And that's what I kind of found a way, okay, and get away with having like a model that's under 1,000 tris, you know, and be able to have it look very great with just a really good texture map. And I usually use like Substance Painter for that, so I can make it more customizable. But in terms of this, where I'm doing like a lot of like tons of buildings and tons of prefabs, I just use a trim sheet and try to load as much as I can in this one tiny trim sheet. So, yeah. Any other questions? Oh, you first.
Since everything has to look like real life, I assume, do you use a lot of references, and how does that like kind of work in progress? Like, is it pictures? Is it like Google Maps? Or yeah, how do you try to recreate something from real life?
So I've run around the entire main resort in Google Maps so many times. If I were there, I could probably walk it myself. I see it in my dreams. But the guy I've been working with, he's been to the resort a couple times. He actually went last month and got more pictures for me, which is great because there's some places where Google Maps just cannot get behind the building. And the one thing we found is that the building, you can see it in the app all the way around, but in real life you can't. And I was like, hey, the backsides are completely kind of whack. I don't know what to do. And he's like, okay, we want the backsides to look good too. So he went around and kind of went past the areas that Google Maps couldn't show me and got more pictures. But yeah. Yes.
It's been a long time since I've dealt with environmental modeling. By trim sheet, do you mean like an unwrapped UV that's kind of, you've done the entire thing on one sheet, or is it a different thing? Rather than applying the UVs to a wall or something of a single texture, you're dealing with an entire sheet of the entire texture for the entire building on one.
Yeah, it's kind of like a flat, it's like a flat sheet where I just kind of made a little bit of a puzzle, and I'm like, okay, this texture will be here, this one here, and then another one here, and then I bring it back into Blender, and I just kind of will start grabbing the different UVs and matching them to where they should be based off the UV map. And if everyone's interested, I can talk about it, another time and tell everyone about it because it saves so much time. All right, I think that's it. Okay.
All right. All right. So next person is someone who's going to talk about a junk shop. So continuing on the trash theme. However, there's also going to be a character training page. So I would like Andrei Brasso to please step up.
Hello. So I was a bit sick last week, so I didn't present and do much. But what I was working on was on a training page for the top-down shooter that I'm making, like Vampire Survivors. So basically I have some basic stats that you can train, and they are split in 3 categories. So I'm trying to avoid building up a gas cannon right from the start. So that's why each time you buy a power-up from a category, the price will go up. So you cannot max out for things in one category right from the start. So that was my main idea with the split up. And then I made some adjustments to my system. So I added a currency and a new shop. So while you defeat the zombies, you now get some currency that you can spend on the shop. And for the items that I'm trying to build, they're pretty bland right now, and I want to create like a sort of a combo stuff, like in a deck building game, but not too complex. So now I'm working on a system that looks like this, where you buy like cards, you buy the items, but they have some affinities, and if you have more items of the same affinity, it will basically it will increase the affinity number, and at some specific thresholds you will get more power-ups and stuff like that, and the items will be more powerful from the same affinity. So that's the system that I'm working on right now. Yeah, that's it. Questions? Yes.
With the affinity kind of system you're talking about, do you picture things like just damage increases, range increases of area of effect?
Yeah, so things like that, like specific guns do more damage, or fire does more damage, and basically more stuff that you trained before increase. It probably probably will be doubled or tripled based on the threshold that you reach with the affinity that you get. So, other questions? Then that's it.
All right. Let's see here. Yeah, that sure looked interesting. Let's see here. And next person up is actually a completely new thing. Completely new, never heard of before. And it's something by Michal. So if we can get Michal to step up here and everyone give Michal a huge applaud.
Thank you. Hello, dear dwellers, homies, and fellow game developers. Today I have come to show you my new game, working title Faithful Realms. What's the print screen? No. Slideshow. Nice. So it is a roguelite god builder about heresy and faith. I've been presenting this a while ago, a couple months ago. Now I have sorta almost working prototype. So this is the elevator pitch. It's a roguelite god builder about heresy and faith. You grow a civilization from ashes and devote your people to worship their chosen god. You build, gather resources, embark on adventures, and make offerings to earn blessings that can save you from the wrath of the gods you have denounced. So it's all about building these chapels where you're making sacrifices to worship a certain god, but it's a whole pantheon and they're fighting over your people, who will sometimes change and worship someone else than you officially declare as the one god. So you also have to fight heretics and things like that. This is how the game begins. I unfortunately have a cropped out image, so there is like a build-up menu. And wow, I was hoping this will not happen.
Just run to your computer and enable it with link.
I did that. Okay. Okay, just a second.
Maybe elevator music.
I'll restart the timer.
Thank you.
Show your YouTube video.
Probably need to refresh the entire presentation.
Hello, fellow dwellers, homies. Here we go. Please.
Go into slideshow itself, maybe.
Yes. So that's how it works so far. You just have this kind of menu and you're placing buildings. I'm so close to hook it to these resources to actually change. But every time you build a building, it costs some resources and it gives you a different resource. So you're managing the resource kind of minigame puzzle while also taking into account the different terrain types that allow you to build only certain types of buildings on them. So for example, the grass, moving grass, that only allows barn, or like barn requires it to be there. Mines need to be built above rocks and stuff like that. So you're kind of learning this rule set. And if you do it especially well, the buildings will upgrade. So there is a certain rule set that you have to follow, and that consists of building at least 2 households next to a building, building a special building, or building on all tiles around it. Or you can skip this puzzle by just spending currency on it, like money that you can make in the game. The special buildings are kind of linked in a production chain, so farm requires windmill, windmill requires barn, barn requires lumber mill, and stuff like that. So you're kind of building in a little chain. There's 5 resources, main resources that you're managing. Food is generally for like housing and population. Material is used to build factories. Money is used on special buildings like the chapels where you can worship and gaining more believers and turning them into believers. Goods are used to make money and build arms, and arms are used to defend yourself from monsters that the gods send to fight you. And believers and fame are kind of like passive currencies that are used to progress through the game. This is how the buildings are denoting their color in terms of who they are actually worshipping. So you want all of them in the same color. If they change their color, it's a problem for you. That's about as much as I can tell you today. There's a lot more about this game, but I guess I save it for next time. Just a little picture of how I was prototyping the rule sets using these neat little puzzle pieces that I borrowed. So thank you very much. And yeah, maybe questions, I guess, if anything of this. Yeah.
What inspired you?
Playing a lot of Hades and wanting to make a city builder that is not going to make my hair fall out from its complexity. Yeah. And so it kind of came together. I was just thinking a lot about how to apply this kind of cool concept of choosing a god that you actually, you have all of these gods fighting for your attention, like in Hades. And I really like that concept as like a storytelling. So I just kind of found a way to put it into a city builder. And then I was iterating on a lot of ideas about the core puzzle, because I want this game to be very easy to pick up, like kind of Dorfromantik. That was also a big inspiration, because that game, 3 rules, you learn them and you can play for hours. And it's very simple, but if you actually spend time with the game, there's a lot of ways you can strategize and play metagame to maximize your score. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for here. I guess first follow-up question.
Well, you mentioned the gods. Are they going to be sort of visualized and
Yes.
actually have dialogue and stuff?
Yeah, so here comes Ryan, that I was sort of hinting at last time. He joins in the team as a creative, like art director, sort of, and he's helping me flesh out the symbolism around the gods. So right now I'm working with a pantheon of 5 gods. They are around like different vices of people, because they're all kind of dark gods, like hatred, greed, pride, these kind of things, and they all represent one of those. So they will have their icon, their own color, and the creatures that they spawn will also be of a certain kind of archetype. Like some of them will spawn skeletons and dead people, and some of them will spawn like Cthulhu monsters and things like that. Yes.
Do you think it's going to be turn-based or real-time? I assume with the hex.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do something very unique, or not so unique, but I was playing also Terra Nil, and really liked the idea in that game that it feels real-time, but it's not. It feels turn-based, but it's not, because pretty much everything that happens in that game is tied to your action. There is resource management, and if you place a building, the state changes, but only if you place a building. So the game only moves as fast as you are able to play, but at the same time, there's never a moment where you just sit and watch. So it's like endlessly engaging, basically. So I'm trying to design the system in a similar way, even to the point where if there is like, for example, I was working with combat, like designing the combat, and a lot of the times there was like situation where it would be cool if the monsters move around the map, react to your actions, if you just deal damage to them, and then suddenly it becomes turn-based. So I was solving it with things like giving them breakpoints in their health bar, and if you pass that breakpoint, then they do some predefined action. So it's, again, the game is just reacting to you, and it's never really turn-based. Yes?
What were the considerations for going with 3D graphics system?
I'm not really sure. I've been, okay, like, to be honest, little disappointment of how Lords and Villains did as a 2D game than seeing Manor Lords performing so much better, and that game being 3D. So I'm a little bit on the side that graphics do maybe matter, but who knows? Game industry is a lot of luck, so But I'm also happy to try something new, learn new things, work with different ways, and also I think this kind of game specifically just works better in 3D. That's just how I feel about it. I think in the end, the choice between 2D and 3D should be informed by the game design more than anything else. And I think in this case, the game will play better if it's 3D. Yes.
Are you still using Unity then, and are you able
Yeah,
to
for now,
reuse-
yes,
are
because
you able to reuse any of the lords and villains thing, or you have completely
yeah,
code base?
I am reusing like bits and pieces right now as I need them. Some of the systems I'm already like I've learned better ways to do it, so I'm just building them from scratch. But it just helps me build the prototype much faster. I don't know if I will stick with Unity. Right now my focus is to build a prototype and get funding. And after that, maybe rebuilding it in another engine is an option, but most likely not. So I think I'll just stick with it and finish it. Because again, the scope of the game and what it requires doesn't really need anything more powerful than Unity. And I have already so much expertise that I can work with it so much faster that it just doesn't make much sense to switch. Yes.
Do you plan on adding or supporting multiplayer?
It is an idea right now, but not. I didn't work the design that far. Right now I'm focusing on making the single player experience work. And then multiplayer, I really like the direction where you would have like, because it's a roguelite, so there is a repetition, and I'm still working out on how the repetition will actually like perform the long-term gameplay. But I really like this idea that you have the settlements that you leave behind in a state that you leave them have a certain population that worships a certain god, and this kind of amounts over long term. So the whole world now has several settlements, and each are kind of worshipping a different god. So the balance of powers is also changing over time. And maybe when you insert multiplayer into that, maybe they can be all part of like some kind of meta world as well. So villages of different people can like impact what's going on. That's like the easiest way to do multiplayer. On the same map, I'm not sure. Maybe it would be interesting, but this game is really like Dorf Romantic, where you're going for a high score. So I don't know how PvP would really work there. Yeah. Other questions? Thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Now, that was some interesting philosophical conundrums of monotism there. So, next up, we're looking at Matt Davis with some ponderings on the magic of tech art. So, together, let's enter his chronosphere.
Disgusting.
Okay, what do I have? Okay, so last time I was talking about my like solo game stuff, but what I haven't presented on this year is Into the Chronosphere. So this is a game that I'm working on with a team that's back in Melbourne. So if you haven't seen it before, I'll just quickly show a little gameplay video. So the game's a turn-based top-down roguelike shooter. Yeah, that's probably enough of the gist of it. So this year I've worked on two main things. I've worked on I'm a tech artist on the game. I've worked on instability effects and the Chronosphere exteriors. So I'll go through each of those. So yeah, where I left it last time, I think at the end of last year, I just kind of got this prototype of an effect together where I can wobble the outlines on a single object. And then it was a process of kind of getting that into the game. So I ended up doing different versions of it. So I can wobble the underlying object without the outlines. I can wobble both together. Or I can wobble just the outlines, which is kind of what we're going with. Yeah, and here's another kind of component of it, doing these kind of gooey looking shadows and underlights. And let's see, here's a little clip of several effects kind of overlaid together. So that's how it's going to kind of look in the game when you're fighting with instability going on, unstable enemies. The ground's kind of shifting around. There's a bunch of different enemy effects overlaid. And then so recently I've been kind of hooking it all up into this this system and a config where you can change, you can tune how all of these effects kind of ramp up as instability increases. So you can see I'm just in the editor, I'm dragging up the level of instability, and you can see how the effects kind of change. And then most recently I was changing these wobbly silhouettes so that they kind of cycle between 4 different colors and they're sort of offset from each other in the cycle. Yeah, and so the other main thing I've been working on is the Chronosphere exterior. So these are the concept art for it, and basically I'm trying to get as close to that as possible, and it's going to be a system that can I mean, the chronospheres in the game are randomly generated, and the exteriors eventually are going to kind of match that. Yeah, so I'm just going to show a bunch of progress stuff. I'm working on the clouds here. This was just, you know, first getting a texture on it. Then I'm starting to kind of figure out how it tiles. So here I'm projecting a texture onto 6 sides and then blending it together. This is kind of debugging that. You can see where the blending's going wrong at the corners, and it's using a signed distance field, and then cutting it out and creating a bit of depth. If you saw in a previous talk, I showed this thing where I can take a 2D sprite and sort of inflate it. I'm doing basically the same thing here, but with a sphere mesh. So there's a sphere facing out and a sphere facing in, and they both kind of expand based on the signed distance field to start creating a bit of volume. Basic lighting stuff. A bit of noise in it. And then I start getting into these rings. So I wanted to create a bit of depth, but they're still just a flat texture, which is easily authorable by an artist. So I've done kind of like a cheap parallax kind of effect where you can see a bit of an edge of them. I've got like 10 seconds, so I'll just go through really quick. Bit of progress. Starting to look good, but this is still like hand authoring, sampling the colors from the concepts. And then after that, the most recent part was starting on the random generation of it. So at first they were like extremely weird and just bad looking, but that was kind of the early stages. Then I started basically sampling a lot of different color sets from the concept art to try and keep colors in the same sets that the concept artist Tim had used. And then here's just a couple of nice ones to close it out. Yeah. Anyway, that's how that's going. Any questions? Shu?
What does instability do?
Instability. Basically, design-wise, I don't know all of the details off the top of my head, but it's basically a state that can happen as you're progressing through the floors of the chronosphere, where things start to get more dangerous and unpredictable. So there's a level of instability which increases, and as that happens, different enemies can spawn which are themselves unstable. Basically a way for weird stuff to happen. Mate?
I don't know if I missed this, but what exactly is a chronosphere?
A chronosphere.
Like I'm assuming the chronosphere is this spherical thing.
Yeah. Well, it's basically an entity in space, which is formed from goo, from the ether, which kind of pulls in all sorts of different elements of the universe. So I guess you can see in the in the trailer, there's a whole bunch of different biomes, which sort of like vaguely resemble themes that we're familiar with, but they're all sort of kind of mashed up in weird ways. Like this one's based on the Australian outback.
So this is the shader basically, or for the outside view when you're looking at the map of the whole thing.
Oh yes.
Like
So
outside view of the whole.
yeah. So before you start a run, you're going to see the outside of the Chronosphere, and then you're going to go into it and play. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Joshua?
I'm curious to know how many are you and how long have you worked on the game?
The team is about 8 people, I believe, and it was basically started in 2020, late 2021. So it's been, how long is that? 2.5 years, and like it started with like 2 people, and then it sort of increased from then. Yep. Any more questions? Cool. Thank you.
Alright, so now that we've had a real nice look at all the pastels, which were super cute, by the way. Oh, and by the way, it was super nice having you all, and I just wanted to prove that I actually can speak like with an East Coast accent. And I would like to apologize to, at least one of the people I play Zelda with for butchering the Texan accent. So I would also like to thank Michal for helping me set this thing up. And I would thank you all for like being here, but you're not here. But you could come here, like to Spelkollektivet. It's awesome. Like we have, we have a jacuzzi. One day, we might actually have a pool. And like I said, like we play Zelda. A lot of Zelda. Like Game Boy Color Zelda, Nintendo 64 Zelda. We're getting some GameCube Zelda right now. Well, actually, we're not. We'll be doing that in like August. But yeah, thank you everybody, and good night. Okay, so I just go where?
Bottom right, near the chat.
End stream. Bye!